We are 30 minutes into the U.S. trading day on this Wednesday, May 22nd. Here are the top stories we're following. Moment of truth. All eyes on NVIDIA earnings after the bell today. Investors eager to hear about the state of AI spending. The bar, of course, very high with NVIDIA shares up 93% year to date. Reinsurance, so hot right now. Manulife CEO Roy Gori, he joins me in an exclusive interview to discuss the firm's recent reinsurance deals and the firm's expansion in Asia, with the region's profit contribution expected to climb to 50% by 2027. And Ares aiming for $750 billion. Fresh off the firm's investor day, Ares CEO Mike Arrighetti joins for an exclusive conversation about AUM goals, the growth of private credit, and how AI could change the industry. I'm Katie Greifeld in New York. Welcome to Bloomberg Markets. You take a look at the board behind me. Another quiet day, but it is green, at least for right now. You take a look at the S&P 500, currently unchanged. Of course, a little bit better if you take a look at big tech, with the NASDAQ 100 higher by about 0.2%. And then you take a look at the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, currently higher by about 1%, but everything could change this afternoon with, of course, NVIDIA due to report earnings. And it really feels like, of course, the whole market is resting on the chip makers' shoulders. But before we get there, let's get to some breaking news in the last couple of minutes. And that is Anglo American agreeing to enter talks with its larger rival, BHP. That's after it rejected its third proposal worth $49 billion. Now, this, of course, opens the door to what could be the biggest mining deal in over a decade. Will Kennedy, he is Bloomberg's senior executive editor for energy and commodities, is here with the latest. So the door is open to talks, but is there a chance here that we could see BHP walk away?
I think there's every chance.
All right, well, one stock we are watching is the Canadian insurance giant Manulife Financial. The stock is off to a hot start this year. Conversation. So I'm looking through the notes, and you have been calling this a transformation, 2023, a transformational year. Your stock is at the highest level since about 2008. Is it still a transformation?
It is still a transformation.
On several deals over the past couple months, but just to set the scene, the way I think about reinsurance is basically insurance for insurance companies. Is that a fair description?
I think that's right.
Year that you took over as CEO, do you think that there's more deals there? Are you going to pursue more long-term care reinsurance deals to further exit that business?
Yes.
Now, do you have a specific target in mind for where you'd like to get to?
We wanted to get our long-term care and variable annuity, which were the more...
Let's also talk about Asia, because you think about your recent earnings report. I think a lot of the street was pleasantly surprised by the growth in Asia. Bloomberg Intelligence actually expects that the region's profit contribution could be 50% by 2027. How do you expand distribution in Asia? What does that look like?
Yeah.
Me as I was preparing for this interview. But before I let you go, I do want to talk about wealth and asset management, obviously an area of focus for you. I know you recently closed a deal to acquire CQS, and I'm wondering, when you think about growing that side of the business, are you trying to do that through more acquisitions or through organic growth?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Hope to see you again soon. Our thanks, of course, to Roy Gori of Manulife. Now, still ahead, we're going to take a look at the companies making the most social. Imagine that the growth of private credit is an important ingredient.
It is a big driver, and obviously it's a big part of what we do. But if you look over the last
investors are looking around now and asking, where's the risk?
Well, you have to. Everyone defines private credit differently. So when we talk about private credit today, I think a lot of people are specifically talking about corporate direct lending.
With the growth of private credit, like Sonali mentioned, all the new entrants, what does deployment look like when it comes to the actual opportunities there to throw money at?
Well, here's something to think about.
Investors have a lot of AI on their minds with NVIDIA after the bell. And I've got to say, in your investor day, you look to this kind of long-term push that you're making here to 2028, adding assets under management. Then where do you look to deploy your own capital? Not the funds, but investing in the business. Is it the marginal hire, or is it the marginal technology expertise here?
It's both. It's both.
When you think about some of your AUM goals, for example, do you plan to hire more people to help achieve that?
And how many?
I'm going to say yes, plenty. And then
credit one where you guys have made an early splash is sports.
Yes.
There's a lot of news around the market about the NFL looking to be open to private equity ownership. How big is that market? Is it even attractive to somebody like you?
Yeah, I think the sport.
That's a big growth driver for you. How do you keep the momentum going? How do you continue to expand in your in that business?
Yeah, I think, look, there's going to be, like all things in our business now, it's.
The next 12 months, what's the biggest opportunity?
I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing, you know.
Markets now, of course, about an hour into the U.S. trading day. We're going to do that with Bloomberg's Abigail Doolittle. All right, it's time now for our Wall Street Week conversation. And today, we're looking at the impact of a Trump or a Biden presidency on the U.S. economy. Wall Street Week's David Weston spoke with Paul Krugman. He is Nobel Prize-winning economist and New York Times columnist about the economic choices that voters should consider before heading to the polls. And that, of course, was Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman and, of course, Wall Street Week host David Weston, who joins me now. And it was a good reminder that, of course, a second-term Donald Trump, he could have much different economic policies than first-term Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know exactly what it would be. There are a lot of reports coming out, although...
You think about the Fed, for example, beyond just what the actual president may enact. There's been a lot of reports about what Donald Trump would mean for the Fed and the choices he might make there.
Well, there was that one Wall Street Journal report, right, that came out.
That there's laws, and those might come into play here if we did see something. Of course, to your point, we haven't actually heard directly from Trump's camp. Let's talk about the markets, though, a little bit, because again, we know what a Biden presidency looks like. We know what Trump first term looks like. How might the markets react?
Well, remember,
I saw that in a few different headlines coming out of that conversation. Great conversation with Paul Krugman, of course. Who else do we have coming?